72,000 people at the Southern 500. Why? Some say it's the color and the speed, the heat and the excitement, the thrill of watching gleaming cars running too fast and too close. It's that and more. The bellow of engines does something inside their heads, and their bodies tingle at the sight of 150-mile-an-hour cars. Is there one word to sum up this feeling for stock cars and the Southern 500? Yes, there's one simple word. Call it love. The love affair begins a week before the race, when practice starts. These fans will be here, living within earshot of the track for the whole week. These cars race on a circuit, hauled perhaps 1,000 miles between one weekend and the next. So there's always something to be done, something to adjust or change. It's a constant battle. The mechanics against the track and against each other. The drivers against the track records and their own fears. Race morning. The fans are as eager as a bride on her wedding day. This is the largest crowd ever gathered for anything, anywhere in South Carolina. Ready to race, our father and son. Buck Baker, three-time winner of the Southern 500, his first victory 19 years ago. Son Buddy won in 1970. Bobby Allison, pole position winner at 152 miles an hour. He drives a Chevrolet, as does Fred Lorenzen, out of retirement to win a front row starting position. Richard Petty, more than 100 career victories. Bobby Isaac, hard luck here, but national champion. Dave Pearson, his qualification delayed, starts in 13th position. A mighty roar goes up from the fans, muffled by the mightier roar of 40 engines. More than 20,000 horses roar to life. Leading the parade, Allison and Lorenzen in Chevrolets. Row 2, Richard Petty's Dodge, side by side with Buddy Baker's Dodge. Row 3 has Dave Marcus in a Matador by American Motors and Richard Brooks in a Mercury. Speed of the first 6 range from Allison's 152 miles an hour to 147 for Brooks. This is the parade lap before the flying start. It gives the cars a chance to warm up and the drivers a chance to cool down. Every car in the race has run 141 miles an hour or better, making this the fastest field ever to race at Darlington. They're ready now. Dave Pearson, starting 13th because of the late qualifying run, has a lot of fast cars in front of him, but Pearson's a race driver. The base cars off the track. They're shaping up for the flying start. The green flag snaps. They're racing. Bobby Allison's number 12 Chevrolet leads in the first turn of the first lap as Lorenzen holds second, challenged by Richard Petty in third spot. Up the backstretch, Allison stretches it out. Lorenzen in number 28 Chevy, running less than full throttle, holds down second place. But Petty sees that Allison is getting away from the field, and Petty's number 43 runs second to nobody, if he can help it. Lap 1. There goes Richard Petty into second place. Baker holds fourth behind Lorenzen, and Richard Brooks Mercury is fifth. Speed on the first lap, almost 150 miles an hour as Allison runs away and hides. Baker challenges Lorenzen on the backstretch. But in the third turn, Baker runs out of racing room. The mile and 3/8 Darlington Raceway has been rebuilt and resurfaced, but remains one of the toughest tracks on the NASCAR circuit. On the front stretch, Buddy Baker tries again and goes past Lorenzen. Some drivers pace themselves in the early laps, but Allison is running flat out, and Richard Petty can't close the gap. Petty's teammate, Buddy Baker, has put his Dodge solidly in third spot. Suddenly, there's a new boy in town. Dave Pearson has whipped past 7 cars as he charged from 13th starting spot. His number 21 Mercury closes in on Lorenzen. There goes Pearson storming past Fred Lorenzen to run 4th behind Baker. Bobby Allison's first-place Chevrolet catches up with the tail-enders. Now, Allison must thread a needle, slipping between the wall and slower cars. Suddenly, there's trouble in the third turn. 7, 8, 9 cars are out of control. The damaged cars spin down onto the track apron, out of the way of the other cars. At 150 miles an hour, there's no way to stop in less than a quarter of a mile. Donnie Allison's car is out of the race. His brother Bobby is leading, but that's no comfort to Donnie Allison. Blame it on racing luck. Leroy Yarborough, a former winner of the Southern 500, is another crash victim. There's Joe Frassen's car, limping to the pits like a burned-out rocket settling back to the launching pad. Frassen's a hard-charging independent driver who loves to race. It'll be tough for him to watch the next 400 miles. Frassen's crew does a little chassis and body work. More to let off steam than anything else. One look at Leroy Yarborough's face, and you know his car can't be repaired. Bobby Isaac is out. Darlington's always been tough for him. Those cars not caught in the accident pit for tires and fuel. There's a wild scramble to get back on the track ahead of the competition. Some cars are a lap behind the leaders. Dave Pearson's Mercury leads Petty, Allison, and Buddy Baker out of the pits. Pearson will be in first place when the green flag waves. The crash was triggered by Tom Gale, who just nicked Donnie Allison's rear bumper. Because they're running so close to the edge of control, the slightest contact can start a chain reaction. When the track is cleared, Dave Pearson has the lead, thanks to a pit stop just a few seconds faster than his rival, Bobby Allison. For the first time in this race, Bobby Allison must go one-on-one with the challenger who worked his way past a dozen fast cars in 100 miles of racing. In the third turn, Allison closes in. Bobby Allison's Chevy passes deep in the third turn and makes it look easy. The war's not over, only the first battle. Pearson, driving his Purolator-sponsored Mercury, knows the race can be won or lost in the pits. And he has the Wood Brothers team in his corner. There's no better or faster crew than the Wood Brothers. Their cars have been among the most successful on the NASCAR circuit. Only Bobby Allison's Coca-Cola sponsor team have challenged the Wood Brothers. Allison's crew talks with the driver using a two-way radio. The car is owned by Junior Johnson, a retired driver. The heat at Darlington makes it rough on cars, drivers, and crews. The track surface is 150 degrees. Tire and oil temperatures are up near the red line. Uh-oh, there's a crash on turn 1. Buddy Baker T-bones Richard Brooks. Baker is still rolling, but Brooks is probably out of the race and may have been injured by the impact. Buddy Baker was running 4th a moment ago, but this may be the end of the ride for him. His father, Buck, is still in competition. NASCAR demands that mechanics put heavy steel side beams into the door on the driver's side. That rule may have saved Brooks from serious injury. He's shaken, but he's all right. The leaders, Allison and Pearson, pit at the same time, perhaps to keep an eye on one another. If pit stops are made while all cars are running at reduced speed under the caution signal, it's possible to get back on the track without losing a lap. Allison gets 2 new outside tires as a 22-gallon tank is filled. To equalize competition, all tanks are limited to 22 gallons and located in the trunk for safety. Allison's away as the Wood brothers finish work on Pearson's car. They'll rejoin the pack at the rear, but a fast car can soon fight its way back to the top. Buddy Baker's crew worked feverishly to get their car back in the race, but there's not enough time to repair steering damage. The 90-degree heat was an indirect cause of the wreck. Dick Brooks says he reached for a tube that allowed him to drink from a water jug strapped inside his car. That moment's inattention put him in front of Baker and left Baker with nowhere to go. Brooks was pushed more than 2 city blocks. When the green flag waves, Allison and Pearson are in position 1 and 2 with 200 miles yet to race. Coming onto the front stretch, Allison runs up on slower traffic and Pearson takes a chance. David Pearson gives his car a breathtaking ride down the front stretch and into first place. Allison won't let that go by without a challenge. On the backstretch, Allison closes in, looking for racing room. Allison's found the room and the power. Allison Chevrolet takes back first place. This track demands all the horsepower of the other speedways, plus a chassis that can handle the tricky turns. To run well at Darlington, you've got to run right against the wall, but not too close. There's a crash in turn 1. Eight cars are scattered on the track apron or limping to their pits under reduced power. Larry Smith, Elmo Langley, Dean Dalton, Jabe Thomas, and G.C. Spencer's number 49 are out of the race. Spencer is not driving number 49. Joe Frassen, whose own car was put out in an earlier crash, is relief driver. Joe has the bad luck to be 2 for 2 today. There's no way to tell how the accident started, but as one car bounced off the wall, the other driver stood on the brakes and began to spin. It's wiser to brake and risk a spin than head full speed into the cars already out of control. In that wild merry-go-round, no one was seriously injured. Luck was with the leaders. The accident happened far ahead of them. There's Pearson, getting through high on the track, while Bobby Allison dives for the infield. The track is cleared, and they're ready to run. Jabe Thomas's car got the worst of it. No one was hurt in this or earlier crashes. The green is out, and the leaders bear down on the Matador driven by Dave Marcus. Marcus' car was damaged earlier, but he's kept it running, although he's 6 laps behind the leaders. Behind Pearson and Allison is Richard Petty in number 43. Petty has made 2 unscheduled pit stops for left front tires. He's in 3rd place, but 3 laps behind Pearson. Pearson, who won at this track in the Rebel 400 last spring, has a great record in stock car racing. He's won 12 major super speedway races and prize money of more than $500,000. Bobby Allison also has 12 victories on the big tracks and has also earned more than $500,000. The 3 drivers battling now, Pearson, Allison, and Petty, have earned more than $2 million in NASCAR events since 1960. Allison is making his move. No, he can't make it through turn 1 without swapping paint with Dave Pearson. Pearson's handling better now than when he started the race. Allison has his work cut out for him. Pearson's crew may have adjusted the chassis during the pit stop, or Pearson may be willing to drive the car a little deeper into the turns. These drivers know to the inch how far they can hold power into a turn before they must back off. The turns at Darlington are slightly different. If a car is balanced for one turn, it may be slower on another. Tire wear and track conditions affect the car's handling, so these men must think every foot of the way. And there's zero margin for error. Every lap is a step onto thin ice. There goes Allison, trying to pass where he caught Pearson earlier in the day. 72,000 fans and 2 race drivers are holding their breath. Bobby Allison slips through and takes first place in an unbelievable display of driving skill. Pearson stays glued to his bumper as the leaders whip past Fred Lorenzen, who qualified in the first row but hasn't been running well. Pearson challenges, but Allison is able to hold him off. Passing on this track is as hard as 2 circus performers passing each other on a high wire. In the pits, Donnie Allison waits near Junior Johnson in case Bobby calls for a relief driver. Allison needs relief right now. Relief from the endless challenge of Dave Pearson. Both drivers are standing on the throttle. NASCAR rules say there can be no door handles on these cars. Now you can see why. Pearson is going to make it. Pearson slides to the rail, has to lift his foot, and Bobby Allison dives underneath. In 23 years, this track has never seen competition like this. Allison has outdriven Pearson, but the race isn't over. They're getting down to the closing laps and the final pit stop. The fans are on their feet to watch one more battle in a day filled with incredible battles. Allison's crew goes over the pit rail with 1 can of gas. There's no time for a tire change. They'll keep their fingers crossed for the next 10 laps. Nine seconds. Allison rolls. Now Pearson slows down. His pit crew have flashed him a signal to come in. He almost overshoots his pit as he slams on the brakes. On the backstretch, Allison has his foot to the floor. 7 seconds. Pearson moves out, and Allison not yet in sight. Pearson spins his wheels, getting away. He's giving the car as much power as it can handle. The low gears are gone, but Pearson's in first place. Here comes Allison, less than a straightaway behind Pearson. Allison has momentum going for him. Pearson's still trying desperately to get his car back to top speed. The fans are on their feet. They sense a battle right down to the checkered flag. Mercury against Chevy. Pearson is up to speed and running flat out. In the pits, the Wood brothers hope they've given their man enough of a lead. They also know there's nothing more they can do for it. The lap charts show 8 laps left to go. At this point in the race, it's up to the drivers. Allison closes in, but can he get by Pearson in a final dash to the checkered flag? 7 laps to go. Moments like this bring out hidden reserves in both men. The cars have traveled more than 400 miles. That's equal to the stress of 40,000 highway miles. The drivers have been baked, boiled, and fried by the weather, the heat of the engines, the tension of high-speed competition. Yet, the cars and drivers are faster now than when they started. There goes Allison, but this time Pearson holds him off. Six laps to go. Allison closed in easily, but it's going to take all his racing skill to get by the leader. Pearson wants to win. He won here in the spring race, the Rebel 400. Bobby Allison has an equally strong desire to win. He's the defending champion of the Southern 500, and only one man has won 2 Southern 500s back-to-back. There are 17 cars still running. Those damaged in the earlier accidents are running slow, another hazard for the 2 front runners. 5 laps to go. Traffic thins out for a moment as Allison looks for the right place and the right moment to try a pass. They're traveling 150 miles an hour, running closer than most people park. Allison drops down. He's going to try for it. Allison takes the lead, and there are 4 laps to go. Now it's up to Pearson. He has 4 laps, 2 minutes more or less to make his move against the car that has proven to be the fastest on the track. Pearson has towered over the competition for the entire season. The number 21 Mercury has beaten Allison in 5 major races earlier this year, while Allison has beaten Pearson only once. Pearson holds on. He's not giving up a shot at the $21,000 first place money. Second place will pay $11,000. Pearson has a minute and a half to find a way to add $10,000 to his winnings. Pearson lifts his foot just enough, and Allison gains a few more yards. They're flying down the backstretch as Pearson scrambles to make up lost ground. Pearson gets a break as Allison runs up on slow cars running in the high-fast groove. 2 laps to go. Dave Marcus, a number 16 Matador, moves over, giving Allison room to pass, and Allison flattens the throttle once more. Pearson has a lap and a half. About 45 seconds before the checkered flag ends one of the greatest stock car races ever seen on this or any track. There's slower traffic, but the high groove, the fast groove, is clear, and Allison drives it like he owns it. They're on the front stretch as the white flag snaps, meaning you're beginning the last lap. Pearson has 30 seconds, less than a mile now. Allison threads the needle, loses a few horsepower as he backs off the throttle for an instant, and there's Pearson trying for a last lap run at Allison. Halfway through the last turn of the last lap, Pearson knows he can't make it. Allison is looking at the checkered flag, and he's going to win the Southern 500 with Dave Pearson 1/4 of a second behind him. Allison's crew and the Chevy fans are dancing with joy. The order of finish: Allison Chevy, Dave Pearson's Mercury, Richard Petty's Dodge, Fred Lorenzen Chevy, and H.B. Bailey's Pontiac with Leroy Yarbrough as relief driver. Allison's crew races to the winner's circle, where the fans have already gathered for a glimpse of the winner. This is Bobby Allison's 7th victory so far this year, and his season's earnings have just climbed past the $200,000 mark. In his 23 starts this year, Allison finished in the top 5 18 times, the best record of any NASCAR driver. Allison's mechanic and car owner, Junior Johnson, is one of the happiest men at the track. Junior won a lot of races before hanging up his helmet, but his best finish at Darlington was 2nd place. Allison said, "I've never had a tougher race." And although he tried, he didn't have the strength to lift the trophy for the photographers. The fans take a last close look at Bobby Allison and start packing up. Before sunset, the campers, trailers, motorhomes, barbecues, ice chests, and sunburns will be heading home. If you still don't know what brought 72,000 people to Darlington, you're just not a race fan in love with the Southern 500.